And we're live.
And we are live. Welcome back to another episode of the Ryan Ripken Show, episode 20 for Brad and I. Brad, hey, kudos to you. We're at 20 finally.
Here's to you, bro.
Cheers to you. And hey, Zach, this is number 3.
Yeah, whole week. A lot of people said I wouldn't make it a week. Well, no one said that, but like I'm sure someone out there somewhere's disgusted that I've made it a week. So if you're watching this, I'm sorry.
What's that Drake thing? Is if you're reading this, it's too late. But
yeah.
If you're watching Zach, it's too late.
I already made it a week.
It's also your first time in the studio, bro. How you liking it?
Yeah, I know. It's awesome. It's a lot cooler than my guest room. So, I mean, I guess it's a little step up.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, if we want to be honest, I love the fact that you have the Orioles wall. You have a B-Rob photo up there. It's electric. But hey, we finally get to do this in person in studio. Brad is still down there. He's down south, but he'll be back up here soon. We got a lot to get into tonight. We got our spicy topics of the weekend, which we want you guys to, please, if you have any questions, by the way, hammer it to us. This is a friendly environment for the most part, and we want to talk about what's on your mind. We're going to sneak peek a couple clips of actually a guest Brad and I just sat down and interviewed. That's going to be out on our channel soon. And if you like baseball, you're into really all the analytics or just the ins and outs, we have a great guest that you guys should be excited to listen to. And then we're going to dive into, it was upsets galore, wasn't it, Brad? All weekend long.
Yes. Officially no more undefeated teams, but there is a team out there that still doesn't have a win.
Yes, there is, and we will talk about them. So it'll be the upsets galore. We'll talk about that the Ravens go over to London, get a much-needed victory, but is there some concerns? Are you worried? Are you not? Hey, I love 4-2, especially my fantasy team's 4-2, but did I cause 2 of my losses? Just like some people might have said that the Ravens cost 2 of their losses. Why are you looking at me like that, Zach?
I'm just wondering, did you blow a lead or something? I'm not going to lie. In my fantasy league, I'm like 1-4, and I think I've had a lead on Monday Night Football in every single loss. It's been horrible.
Well, okay. I'll tell you about, since we're on this topic, we'll open it up with this little Ryan dialogue or epilogue here. Essentially what happened for me is my 2 losses have been for me making the wrong mistake as a general manager, meaning this week I ended up losing a game by 8 where I sat Zay Flowers and I also sat Stevenson for the Pats, and I lost by 8 points. Now, to my defense, would you start Zay Flowers over Mike Evans, DJ Moore after putting up 300,000 points? And then I'm on Ross St. Brown, who balled out, by the way. But anyway, I lost. Am I upset? You be the judge. But anyway, we're going to talk about football and then kind of what else happened around for the weekend that we missed on. But again, for those that are tuning in, if you're new, please hit that like and subscribe button. It would mean a lot to us. Brad, am I doing okay so far?
You're doing good.
I am proud of it. But actually, let's get right back up to the top then to our spicy topics of the day of the show. And the first one's going to come out of the baseball news. And we're going to touch a little bit on the Rangers, Astros, and the Phillies D-backs here to start off the show. But the news that Kim Ng, the general manager of the Miami Marlins, is now out as the general manager. And there was a lot of, I don't want to say there was controversy, but there was conflict over the decision. Brad, I think do we have that one around there?
Yeah. So I was just going to share the tweet about what she was, what from Jeff Passan says the Miami Marlins wanted to hire president of baseball operations over general manager Kim Ng, leading to her departure from the organization. Sources told ESPN. When reached, Ng declined comment, but sources said that she would have been the number 2 after constructing a playoff team. And that there was also some sort of, I guess, I don't know if it's like truth or rumor or whatever, but I think there was a rumor about how there was just some misalignment between the 2 of them, that perhaps there was philosophies that weren't the same for either side of this, which I find weird. You and I talked about this before going on camera, Ryan. It was that like she turned around that Miami organization. So it's like it's hard to determine as to who was really in favor of this, or like was this Kim Ng stepping aside herself, or was this coming from from those above her head? So I don't know, but it just seems weird to take a team like the Marlins and you have all this momentum and you really kind of like build something, and they made it to the playoffs. It just seems weird that all of a sudden now she's no longer going to be the GM. So I'm just really trying to piece this together. I don't want to pull it's because she's a woman card, but that noise I feel as if could get louder as mainstream media continues to catch on this. What do you guys think?
Well, I think that, Zach, I'll let you take over here in a sec, but I think this is what's going to talk about this common conversation, because on another case in the sport that we're going to talk about with Alyssa Nakken, then interviewing for the managerial position for the Giants. And this is when we're talking about taking the next step, whether it's qualification, but no matter what, it's going to come down to, when you think about something like this, is there something more, especially in a field where it hasn't historically been done as much? So Zach, you go ahead.
I think my first thoughts on the Kim Ng situation is good for her. I think she went out and was the first woman general manager in MLB history. And what did she do? She took the Marlins to the playoffs. She proved what she can do. And honestly, I was actually talking to people about this earlier. I am terrified that the Red Sox are going to get her, because I think if you have a payroll like that, we've already seen what she built with a smaller payroll. Now you get into a team that's willing to spend. I think this is not the last time we've seen her. And I think it's going to be pretty fast that we start to see the teams piling up, interviewing and asking to meet with her.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to draw hopefully she gets an opportunity to go somewhere else and choose. But that's where it is in professional sports, and you're seeing this. There's always other layers to it, and we're having this conversation because of the fact that this is involving a historic feat in professional baseball, in sports in general. And then all of a sudden now it's over, and it felt like it's so abrupt, to your point, Brad, where I will say this, though, and I have seen this in the past, where there has been conflicts and maybe philosophical differences, and that leads to splits. But when it comes to a situation like this, it just doesn't seem to fully add up, especially given that the Marlins seem to be trending in the right direction.
Yeah. And, I mean, here's what I'll say about the Alyssa Nakken thing too, is that, like, I actually think the Giants are interviewing her because of her acumen, right? Like she's a qualified candidate. It's not, and I would feel differently. This is obviously something that you want to be careful with your words. And so I'm going to try to do my best to do so, but I would be upset if the Giants, and I would hope that women would feel upset too at that, if the Giants or any other professional ball club would put a woman in a managerial as a manager that wasn't qualified, and then she falls flat on her face, right? At least Alyssa Nakken is qualified. She's first full-time female coach in MLB history, first to coach on the field during a major league game. She's played softball her whole life. And she has been involved with Giants organization. So like she actually has the chops to do something like this. And so I actually appreciate the fact that not only is she a woman, but she's also qualified to do this job. I hope she gets it. That would be great to see. And I would be curious, not curious, but I would be excited to see how the ball club actually responds to her and how she manages the club. And maybe this kind of being that next step forward, right? The Major League Baseball has already had issues really kind of gaining viewership, and I think that they took a huge leap this year with all the rule changes. I think that they're going to do, I think if we see a female manager, I think it's gonna be great for baseball. I think it's just gonna bring even more people to the sport that we all know and love.
Yeah, just kind of to piggyback off what you're saying, it's not like she's not qualified. If anything, she might be the most qualified of the people that they're interviewing.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because from a fan's standpoint, why wouldn't you want the best candidate to lead your team to a World Series? Like, that's where I think it's funny where some fans are like, no, we can't have a woman running the team, stuff like that. I want to win a World Series. If she was going to be signed by the Orioles tomorrow and she leads us to the World Series,
who cares?
Who cares? Whoever's the best at doing the job and can get your team over that hump is what the candidate should be looked out after, not, oh, we can't have, the first woman manager in MLB history.
Yeah, you hope it just gets to a point where you're not talking about the first of a historic feat. It's, well, are you accomplishing the goal, which is to win a championship? And I think once we get to that discussion, because I think the first topic or the first thought that goes into people's minds right now is it deserving? And two, well, she's going to fail. Not that there's anything else. And I think once it takes one person, I still look at the fact, because when Greg Popovich did this with Becky Hammond and her success being on as a bench coach with the Spurs, now with the Las Vegas Aces, I think she might be the one to break the barrier in the NBA. And then what if she has success? Then it going, well, wait a minute. Okay, there's the fact, there's the point. But right now, that's where I think the mind goes. And at the end of the day, fans, organizations, people, they just want to win. And that includes then the people that they're hiring. Like these two women being a part of it, they're a part of it not because they're trying to do an historic feat. They're passionate and they want to win, just like any of us, when we get upset or complain about what happens on a game on Sunday or with the postseason. But for them, they want to be a difference maker. And hopefully that will come, if it's not in this moment now for seeing a first woman manager, there could be an opportunity here in the future. But just interesting storylines, right?
Winning fixes everything.
What?
Winning fixes everything, I think. And a perfect example is Kim Ng. I mean, when she first got the job, people questioned her. People were like, is she qualified? Can she do this job? And now fast forward and she declines to continue. And everyone's like, what a huge loss for the Marlins.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. It's like, wait, but a few years ago, everyone was like, is she qualified for it? But then she went out, she won. And now people are like, wait, no. We want her on our team. Like that's someone who can put together a winner. And it's no longer, oh, that's the first female GM in history. It's no, Kim Ng knows what she's talking about.
Yeah, at the end of the day, winning matters and winning cures everything, especially when you've seen some hard times. We've seen in Baltimore now, everyone's perceptions change. Well, how about this? We're going to another spicy topic leading into this baseball conversation. Talk about winning cures a lot. How about the Rangers? The Rangers of all that turmoil the last few years. And then all of a sudden here, Brad, the Rangers are hot. Now this game is getting close between Texas and Houston. It's 5-4 after the Rangers got off to a 4-0 lead to start the game. But man, Texas is rolling. And actually, Brad, I think we had a guy come on today earlier with us to talk about these two teams specifically. And for those that don't know, it's Oakland A's outfielder and all-star Brent Rooker spent some time today, Brad, to talk about how lethal that Texas lineup really is.
Yeah, that's right. Let's go ahead and listen to him and see what he had to say about these two ball clubs that he had faced time and time again.
Starters have been unbelievable.
Yep.
And their lineup is showing you that they are as good as advertised, which they were for the majority of the season.
Their lineup is crazy deep. I think the way the teams match up was interesting because I think the strength of the Rangers is just the depth of the lineup and how you saw, Tavares hitting 9-hole last night is as good a 9-hole hitter as you're going to find anywhere. Nate is hitting 7th right now. Nate is OPS 780 this year, won a Silver Slugger last year. And the depth of their lineup is just, it's crazy. And they're getting Scherzer back, he's going game 3, right? That's obviously a huge addition to that rotation with how well Montgomery threw. And then who's going tonight for them? Evaldi? Of the year of Evaldi.
Really, the AL West was loaded. So right there,
It's a good place to stop.
well, I knew exactly where to go because it's two parts right there with him. And for those that are interested, we're going to have much more on that going up on the YouTube page here soon. But I think a guy that gave a pretty good assessment is a guy that got to face them the Astros and the Rangers a lot, being in the same division. And unfortunately for the Oakland A's, those Rangers and Astros did a number on them for a lot of games.
He saw he saw both teams do what they're doing in the playoffs firsthand a lot this year, sadly.
Yeah. First and foremost, and the Rangers right now, I mean, Brad, we talked about this. This Rangers team, they play like they have so far. They're going to end up representing the American League, and possibly then will win the World Series.
Yeah, as an Orioles fan, it definitely made me feel better seeing the Astros struggle against the Rangers as well. I mean, it was one thing to see them sweep the Rays, and then there's another thing to see them sweep the Orioles, and then now it's just like, well, maybe it's not that the Rays and the Orioles were choking. Maybe it's just that the Rangers are that good and they're that hard to beat. So far, they have yet to have lost a game since the postseason started. And I think if you go back before that, they won 3 in a row before getting into the postseason. So they're just on fire. And I don't know what's going to put them out. Right now, obviously, it's close. You just got a feeling that perhaps the Rangers are the team that are probably going to win the World Series at this point.
Well, I mean, not if, of course, Houston or Philly has something to say. That game starts tonight. But Zach, I think you had some stats on how dominant Texas has been in this postseason specifically.
I mean, when you look at it historically, if Texas holds on to this lead, they will have 7 straight wins to start a postseason, which is tied for the second most ever with the 07 Rockies, 20 Braves, and 2022 Astros. Only one behind the 2014 Royals, which honestly, when I saw that, the only thing I could think of is, can the Orioles stop running into historically hot teams in the playoffs?
Yeah, seriously, can we fix that? By the way, I mean it's absurd, but hey, that shows you how good they've been. And side note, does anyone remember that Rockies run? Because they had to win a bajillion games just to get to the playoffs that year. Mm-hmm. And then talk about the play-in game. That was one of the most electrifying, is the Padres and Rockies, and I think it was a walk-off sack fly, if I'm not mistaken, and a guy slid head first, and it might have been Matt Holliday, to be honest. But what just historical of what we're exactly seeing. And then here, well, actually, just for right now, hey, whammy. There we go. Is that good?
Got that?
There we go.
Oh, that's beauty. That's beautiful. Well, hey, since we talked a little bit about the postseason, and there was one other clip we wanted to show you. A part of that, Brent Rooker, is I don't know if this would ever happen, but we did ask him, because we had to, of the postseason struggles that teams have had with the bye, and would this ever be considered a option if MLB would think about trying to what's the word? Restructure. There it is. Here we go. Let's listen to the second part of this. The only team that's figured out the bye so far in the last 2 years is the Houston Astros. So far this season, 3 of the top 4 teams with the byes are all out of the postseason. And actually only one of those teams got a victory, and that was the Braves.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's teams getting hot. Momentum's a real thing. But do you think that that's something that they need to look into?
On Eric Kratz's show the other day, Eric, and I was on with him, and I think Brock Holt was on at that time. But we were saying if teams, or if people feel like it's such a disadvantage, if you want to give the division winners the choice between, hey, you can play the 2 or 3, or you can get the 5 days off, no one is ever going to choose to play the 2 out of 3. So, I mean, is it really like, that's kind of where you look at it as, do you think it really is an advantage or disadvantage, or is it just these teams that go in and win ultimately the 2 biggest games of their season build crazy momentum coming into this new series? I think it's more to do with that than there being an actual disadvantage of having time off. Yeah.
So, yeah, whammy. Interesting point. First off, let's talk about that. He thinks it's more of that the team's having to win the biggest game. And then you're riding that momentum that catapults. And because that they have so much confidence, it doesn't matter that the other teams just aren't having a chance to build that up. But having said that, though, 5 days off is a lot of days off.
Especially in baseball.
Yeah. It's a lot. I mean, what do you guys think? Thoughts? You think that they ever would give a team a chance to choose, or is that too bold?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's Major League Baseball, so I can't say it's completely out of the realm, but I don't see, especially in the coming years, I think it stays the same. I think even Manfred pointed something out. It's just been 2 years. They're not doing anything. They'll look at it, I'm sure, and then say that they think it's perfectly fine. And then in 5 years, if this is still happening, then we're going to start to see it, maybe get shifted.
Yeah, I'm with you, Zach. As much as I would like to see it change, I feel like 2 years is enough time, especially given the way that we've seen these teams perform over the last 2 years. It'd be one thing if it was like, oh, well, it's like 50-50, right? Like half the teams did well, the other half didn't. But I think when you look at the sample size that we're already seeing this short period of time, you got to wonder if it should be changed back. But I don't think it's going to be. The one thing I will say is that whenever there is a rule change, teams figure a way to make it work. And maybe it's just more sims. The Orioles tried to do that. They only had one that we know of. And so maybe it's just more simulated practices. Maybe it's more exhibition. Maybe who knows? They bring minor league players up and they do something like that just to kind of keep the juices flowing. They'll figure it out. But yeah, no, I don't think they're going to make any changes anytime soon. Although I think that they should try to figure it out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, the teams are going to adapt. I think you hit it on the head. It's going to take some time, and who knows? Maybe the Astros figured it out. Maybe the Astros have just gotten lucky over the last 2 years. Not lucky, but they're just not as affected by it. But like you said, teams are going to figure out ways. They're going to try different things, see what works for them. And then assuming this is kind of where it goes down the line, I think that's where you'll see teams do better, and maybe we don't notice it as much.
Yeah, we'll see. But for right now, it's advantage wildcard teams, and two wildcard teams are playing for the NLCS or playing for the championship series in the NL. The D-backs and the Phillies just riding some momentum, and so much momentum. This is why we actually have the celebration. I can't get over any of these celebrations. This is why I play the game of the D-back or the Phillies winning, and their anthem is "Dancing on My Own."
Yeah,
electric. The vibes in there, and this is the moment here. And I will show you the clip of this is why you play the game. I could watch that video on repeat for months. And I'm not exaggerating that.
Yeah.
I tell people this when I was going through some of the roughest years, or you're going through all these doubts while you play. And then I brought up the Delman Young double down the line. Who doesn't remember that as an Orioles fan? But as far as for a player, yes, making money and making a lot of money is really great. Don't get me wrong. Of course, don't you want to play in the bigs and get a big contract? But it's those moments. Like, that's why you play the game, is so you can have champagne go down your crack, or Budweiser in this case, and you are raving it out because you're sacrificing so much of your time and effort to be able to get to these moments. And those are the moments that you remember when it's all said and done.
I love that they already had the Attaboy Harper shirts made. That was incredible. I was hoping they would do it, but I wasn't sure. But as soon as I saw it, it made my night. That was needed.
Yeah,
I like the back to it. He wasn't supposed to hear it. That's a beautiful touch to it. Beautiful touch to it.
Hey, that was so great. You know what's crazy too? Like Arcia also like just couldn't help himself. I know that you saw it, Zach. I put out a tweet about Arcia, and we should have pulled that clip too. But like he was like jawing at the fans.
Yeah,
that final game too. It's just like, shut the fuck up, bro. Like, you've already gotten yourself in trouble, and here you are just talking more shit to fans, and you're losing. Like, just just be humble about it, man. Like, what are you doing? And then, obviously the Phillies go in the locker room and continue to rub it in his face. But yeah, it's just like now RC is the villain going into next season. I have to believe that at this point.
It's like a Dylan Brooks situation.
Yeah,
it really is. It's just the MLB version of Dylan Brooks, where it's like a guy that didn't necessarily have a villain type to him. And you didn't necessarily, when you thought of Orlando Arcia, you weren't like, oh, that's a villain. Now, like you said, Brad, going into next year, it's okay, Orlando Arcia's got to do something, or every crowd he goes into, especially in Philadelphia, they are going to get on him the entire time.
Oh, guaranteed. But I will say this, at least with Dylan Brooks and Arcia. Dylan Brooks also, I'm pretty sure, said LeBron doesn't do much.
Yeah.
And then they got absolutely smoked. And I mean, at least with that one, it's going, well, LeBron's only one of the greatest players of all time. And
yeah, I'm a Grizzlies fan. I remember.
Yeah. So
oh, I remember it pretty well.
So I think for what I've learned is just really don't call out guys until the moment's over. I think that is what we're learning here. Don't poke the bear. And the bear was Bryce Harper or Nick Castellanos too. That guy.
Stop poking all-time greats. Maybe that should just be the thing.
You know what? Just don't rile up great players.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. But that series should be electric. That starts tonight. D-backs Phillies. Can't wait to see it. And whoever wins, well deserved. But man, I'm lying to myself if I wouldn't mind seeing another celebration like that.
I'd love to see the Phillies keep dancing on their own.
Oh gosh. I mean, they even went out to the bars afterwards, and everyone in there is living it up. Like the whole fan experience with the team and the connection. Like, props to Philly. You can love or hate them or think that they're awful fans. I don't know, but that is what it's all about. And hey, Alan's talking about it. Let your play on the field do the talking. I'm trying to get the mouse there. Get there. There it is. Absolutely let your play on the field do the talking. I've told you guys, I gotten so many attaboys when I played, like attaboy Ripken. They couldn't pronounce the P. And and sometimes, it was bad. I had broken bats, but when I did, that it would lock me in. I sometimes hit some of the hardest balls, and I am not an all-time great. So just food for thought. Yeah. Go rake, go play your game.
Yeah, don't poke the all-time greats or Ryan Ripken.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
I mean, in that order.
Yeah,
exactly.
In that order.
In that order. Well, hey, so we want to move in. We'll keep touching on it. We'll keep following as obviously with the Rangers, Astros 5-4 going to it's 2 outs at the top of the ninth, but Rangers trying to stay undefeated. Whammy, incredible. But hey, let's move into NFL because it is Monday and we got to cover. There's a lot of things that happened this weekend, and we'll get into some other wacky moments. But fellas, what the hell happened when you really think that the NFL's never figured out?
Yeah.
And right now, the team that looked like they could never be beaten, the Niners lose a weird game to the Browns. Jets fall to the Eagles also on a very ugly game. And then the Giants should have beaten the Bills. But Brad, let's start with the Browns and 49ers and holy shirts and pants.
Yeah, so here's my thing. It would seem as if the 49ers are, not too far removed from Orlando Arcia, as we were just talking about him shit talking, because before the game, if you guys didn't catch it, there was a bit of a scrum before the game even started. And it allegedly Deebo Samuel started it. Trent Williams came in and finished it and really pissed off the Browns. Then it ended up being, as I predicted, a low-scoring game. Both of those defenses, even though the Ravens torched the Browns, both of those defenses are really good. It didn't help that Deebo left the game. Christian McCaffrey also left the game. And it was just a slugfest in Cleveland. But get down to the wire, and a missed field goal is a difference between San Francisco staying undefeated and them now suffering their first loss. You got to wonder, though, fellas, no Deshaun Watson either. So and no Deshaun Watson, no Chubb. They're out with a lot of other players. So I've been seeing a lot of noise from the media and even like folks on Twitter, 49ers fans complaining about how they didn't have all their players. That's why they lost. Like, I'm sure that there's Browns fans out there that are just saying, shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about. Our team is like, we're without our number one running back since week 2. So, and we're still winning ball games. So, my question is to you guys, are the Browns for real, or is it just that they've been trying to just figure themselves out and they're an actual legitimate team that may or may not need Deshaun Watson to win? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
That's okay. Their defense, like you said, is absolutely incredible.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, when you have to block Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett on the same play, usually the offense is not going to do well. But the Deshaun Watson thing is where I'm not sure if he helps or hurts them. And it's weird because PJ Walker, at least in the passing game, looked at times like he was able to lead them down the field. Not anything special, obviously, against the 49ers defense. But every time Deshaun Watson steps on the field recently, it feels like we're having another moment where it's like you watch a few plays and you're like, oh, Deshaun's starting to figure it out. And then he plays 3 drives and you're like, Deshaun lost it all. And so I don't know if it's still rust. I'm not sure what it is, but the Browns, like you said, as a whole, are a very good team, especially on defense. But I'm not totally sure how Deshaun helps them. If he's Deshaun like before, this is a Super Bowl contender, unfortunately. But I've yet to see that. So they're just such a weird team. It's the Browns. They're always a weird team.
Always weird. But Deshaun Watson still is a way bigger upgrade over PJ Walker. And I love the fact I love his heart. I love his grit. But think about that. The PJ Walker, he had 0 touchdowns through 2 picks, and the Browns still beat the 49ers. Yes, the injuries were the injury bug was there for the San Francisco 49ers. But Deshaun Watson, they've had, to your point, Zach, they've had games where you go, man, Deshaun looks like he's turned the corner, and then they play Pittsburgh of being like, well, those turnovers are brutal. But then he also torched the Tennessee Titans. And if Deshaun, I'll just even say this, if Deshaun Watson plays like a top 16 quarterback, the Browns are going to be very hard to beat.
Yeah.
Because of that defense. And the fact that the Ravens got a win in Cleveland, despite him not being there, like that's a big win. Because Cleveland's going to hold around. And the fact that the Ravens are going to have to play probably a healthy 49ers team at the end of the season, when you go to San Francisco, Merry Christmas, everyone. You get the 49ers on Christmas Day in San Fran. Like,
gotta love it.
I mean, for Cleveland, you're like, oh, hell yeah. We play on a gloomy, like weird weather day in Cleveland. Sign us up.
Yeah. And I think that, to your point, I think that had a big impact on how the game went, was the fact that it wasn't these perfect conditions where we could really see the 49ers use all the tricks in their book. Yeah, CMC goes down, you lose Debo. So even Trent Williams has a ankle sprain. They're not quite sure the grade, I think. But it was just super interesting that in those conditions, you saw the Browns can still run the football, which we always knew they were going to do. And then that defense I'll give it to them. Brad, I said it before. I thought it was going to be a blowout. And that Browns defense just keeps impressing. I think I was still a little bit on the hype train after the Ravens went in there and just ran them over. But when you see them against a team like the 49ers, suddenly you start thinking like, okay, this team's legit.
Yeah, I think that we're all, I mean, Brad, I mean, that's AFC North football right now. That's just tough. These teams are still there. The Bengals won their game, and it wasn't their offense that won that game for the Cincinnati Bengals against the Seahawks. That defense showed up for Cincy, and we're starting to see that. It's going to be the team who can play the toughest football come December, January, and Cleveland's going to be right in the mix. And even though the Ravens have they're 4-2. I mean, look, even Pittsburgh's going to stay. Pittsburgh just plays different in Pittsburgh, by the way. It is so ridiculous to see. We will, as we see, we have some other Ravens comments. We're going to cover the Ravens here in a moment, by the way. I did want to pull up real quickly because I thought it was that analytics about the weather with Jake Moody's kick. And let me see if I can get this up really quickly. You got it? Oh, whammy.
You can get analytics on anything these days.
Anything. And this one is about the weather on the final kick, which when you see it the way that's not it.
No, here you
go. There it is. Weather applied metrics at Weather Applied for those that are wondering. This is them talking about that final kick from Jake Moody. Initial kick was heading 0.44 yards from the goalpost center, and the spin took it rightwards an additional 0.82 yards. The wind pushed it 2.39 yards further right for a total of 3.64 yards from the center of the goalpost, resulting in a missed field goal.
That's what, 10 feet? No, over 10 feet. Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think Moody pulled this up in the meetings today? Like, I told you, it's not me. Look at this Twitter page. This was not my fault. Yeah, it was dead center.
Yeah, but so here's the thing: is like that's what makes kicking even so harder on a different element. Yes, it's your one job, but then also being able to adapt when the weather conditions are messing up. That's why with Justin Tucker has been so great, is for all those incredible moments,
making the adjustments. Yeah, I mean, and I'll say this: even Justin Tucker's ran into this issue. I mean, first extra point that he ever missed in his entire life, essentially since high school, was just on a fluke gust of wind. Right? It was Ravens Saints came down to the wire. I was at that game. I was right at that field goal. I tell you what, though, historic game.
That was one of those games where it's just like the emotion of, oh my God, we tied it. Oh, Tucker's going out there to tie it.
Yeah,
Tucker just missed.
Yeah, you know what? Someone actually even said like, my friends were freaking out. Let's go. I'm like, we got to make the extra point. Apparently didn't they put the graphic up? Tucker hasn't missed an extra point, misses it. The stadium deflates. And actually that was the final game that Joe Flacco started for the Baltimore Ravens.
I was just about to say it was the first game we watched Lamar Jackson score a touchdown in. So it was, despite it being a loss, it was still a special game regardless. And it was the last time we got to see Drew Brees at the bank as well.
And Drew Brees got that final victory. That we were the last. The Ravens were the last team that he hadn't beaten yet.
Yeah,
stud. Drew Brees, stud, by the way. But anyway, that was a big upset. Jets Eagles might have been even more wild for the fact that the Eagles turned the ball over so many times, including what led to the Jets taking the lead. A third down situation. Jalen Hurts goes back to throws a pick, and they return it inside the 10-yard line. And then they let the Jets score, but the Jets hold. And now the Jets, Brad, are 3-3, and Aaron Rodgers is throwing footballs on the field with 35 days after surgery.
Yeah, he's got the black magic going.
Yeah, I like that. That to me was wild. Seeing Aaron Rodgers being able to throw, I thought I had that somewhere. Let me see if I can pull that up. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers out there just chucking a ball around a month after surgery is just absolutely mind blowing to me. You gotta wonder. Lots of people cracking jokes. Once Aaron Rodgers went down, the Jet season was over. Everybody was depressed if you were a Jets fan. But that defense is really keeping teams, or keeping it close. With the exception, I would say, of the Cowboys game, the Jets have been playing their opponents pretty close, win or lose. We saw the Chiefs game was a close game, and I would make the argument that Jets should have won that game. The officials kind of threw that game for them at the end of the game on a defensive holding, but like there was some really bright spots. And I'll say this too. Look, everybody, rightfully so, Zach Wilson has gotten a lot of shit for being a terrible quarterback, but he's also that Eagles game towards the end of the game, he made some really good throws as well to Wilson in particular. I thought he played a great game, and it seems as if he's only getting better since everybody wrote him off as somebody who wasn't going to be in the league next year, much less, making some sort of noise. And even, dare I say, making a run towards at least a wild card spot. I think the Jets are certainly not out of it. That's for damn sure.
No, not at all. I mean, you know what? I was just thinking about this. For the Jets, first off, Zach Wilson's the maturity level for him, right? Him growing as an individual and understanding he's come a long way from being the second overall pick and then talking about he's going to give the next quarterback that comes in hell, and to even when asking questions, do you feel like you let the defense down? No, like those moments from the years past to now the accountability. But I'll say this, I'm happy with even Nathaniel Hackett. This should be their strategy. Have you guys seen Kicking and Screaming, the movie?
Oh, yeah.
With Will Ferrell and Mike Ditka. Okay, for everyone else, they're kicking and screaming. They're coaching a soccer team. And then they get kids soccer team. And they get the two best players from this neighborhood, and they're both Italians, and they're ridiculously good at soccer. I think the Jets' game plan needs to be pass it to the Italians, and in this case, their Italians are Garrett Wilson, get him the football, which they did, and let Breece Hall get the ball as many times as you possibly can. Yes. And if you can do that, you're going to be able to alleviate pressure off of Zach Wilson. But on top of it, Brad, you brought it up. I mean, the quarterbacks that they faced, I mean,
it's insane.
So let's run through this list real quickly. Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Mac Jones.
Ooh. There we go.
Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Jalen Hurts. And in their home games, minus the one game against the Chiefs where they gave up 23 points, their totals 14 against the Eagles, 15 against the Patriots, and 16 against the Buffalo Bills. They're a way different team when they play at home. And now there's kind of some hope here in the Meadowlands.
I just want to point out they lost to Mac Jones. So
that was
take that for what it's worth.
Well, so this is why I was asking the question. It's like, there's obviously some adjustments they had to make. It seems as if though that they've made them. I mean, they should have beat the Chiefs, and I think that they would have beat the Chiefs. And now they beat the Eagles. I think that they are figuring it out, and we talk about this a lot. Especially with NFL teams, is like they have a huge change in personnel over the offseason. It takes a little bit to really gel and create that chemistry with everybody. And it kind of just feels as if the Jets are doing that. And, I really do think that there's an opportunity there for them to take a wild card spot if they continue to trend in this direction. Speaking of trending, we talked about this, this whole Aaron Rodgers thing. Like, here's Aaron Rodgers just tossing a football. This is a month after his Achilles injury. You got to wonder too, we haven't seen anything from J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is also rehabbing with Aaron Rodgers, going through the same rehab process that Aaron Rodgers went through as well. This is really encouraging for Jets fans. It's got to be really encouraging for Ravens fans as too. Got to wonder when we could see potentially J.K. out there, I don't want to say full sprinting or anything like that. Obviously, throwing a football is way different than running, but man, you got to be encouraged by that. I don't know if we see JK back on the field this season, but he could very easily be back next season in full form.
And I mean, look at the Jets coming up schedule. They have a bye, then they play the Giants, the Chargers, and the Raiders, and that necessarily with their defense.
Could be 6-3.
You could be 6-3 easily. I think 5-4 at worst. And so I would be excited if I was a Jets fan. And I mean, it's going to be the question that follows this team, no matter really what they do, is what would it be like with Aaron Rodgers? And I think that's such an interesting question because, like we said, they should have beat the Chiefs. They should have beat the Patriots. With Aaron Rodgers, I'm thinking at least one of those is a win. So suddenly you go from, that injury, you really look how it could have even opened up the AFC, because who knows, with this defense playing that way, Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, that could have been a team that we looked at like, oh, that's where you have to go through to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it's really defense can travel. That's where it starts. And we've seen why the Eagles, for me, why the Eagles are having a little bit more struggle was that their secondary wasn't as sharp as it was, and they've had some injuries. They lose their defensive coordinator, right? Yeah. The Jets, what you see when you're able to control the trenches, which the Eagles still do, by the way. The Eagles are so nasty in the trenches. But for the Jets, their secondary is tough. I mean, it's a tough group. And yes, like I understand that, the Eagles still did a tremendous job, but they forced 3 turnovers. And Jalen Hurts last year, people were talking about him. If he didn't get hurt, he would have been the MVP of the league, right? Then Patrick Mahomes had his worst, I think, statistical game of his career against the Jets. So, I mean, there's a lot of talking points, but if you're a Jets fan, you are in the discussion. You are right in the middle of being exactly where you thought you weren't going to be when Aaron Rodgers went down. And so that was, hey, props for the Jets. They're rolling, they're grinding. And I hope to see the best. Can't say the same for the other team in New York or East Rutherford, New Jersey, whatever you wanted to consider it. The Giants. So I want to touch on this one. It wasn't an upset, but Brad, it should have been an upset. So many things went wrong.
Yeah, it should have been. And, I'll say this. Look, I'll start with the good. Good news, bad news, right? The good news is Daniel Jones wasn't really all that missed. And Tyrod Taylor was doing Taylor things in his 13th season. Obviously, there was a little bit of rust there. We're going to get into it, especially when it comes to clock management at halftime. But, man, did that guy look good. It's just been a shame that, he's had a streak of bad luck in certain areas, especially like when it comes to injuries, when he was with the Chargers and, Justin Herbert obviously took over and the rest is history there. But like, it was good to see Tyrod Taylor out there and he was running around, making throws, just as if he had never left. And it was a good feel-good story for him too, because he's back in that Bills stadium. I would imagine the Bills fans gave him a warm welcome, but man, this is the tough part because the Giants could have taken this game away from the Bills. And I was going to say this before, but going back to the Jets conversation, we were talking about them winning the next 3 games. They could win the next 4 if the Bills don't figure their shit out, because they almost lost this game and they should have, had there been proper clock management. Here's one example of that. When we take a look at what happened at halftime, they ran into a similar situation towards the end of the game. But let's take a look at halftime right here on what happens. It's 6-0. They're on the 1-yard line.
Oh, no.
They run the ball. Saquon runs the ball. There's 13 seconds left before they snap that ball. Saquon runs the ball. There's no sense of urgency to stop the clock here. And then all of a sudden, they realize how much time's left, and it's too late. They go into the locker room. The Bills get the ball to start the half, and that was a potential either 3 points or a touchdown that should have been scored. And if that would have happened, if they would have figured that out, the Giants would have come away with a dub on just that play alone. But you get to the end of the game, they were in a similar situation, and I'll make the argument that they called pass interference towards the end of that game. They should have called it again. Saw a lot of people talking about, oh, they didn't want to call it twice in a row. Bullshit. You got to call it if that happens. I felt bad for the Giants, but they also did shoot themselves in the foot quite a few times here.
Yeah. I was ecstatic for Tyrod. Just personally, I think that was my favorite part of watching the game, was just like you said, Brad, he looked like Tyrod again. He looked like the guy that he's not going to blow you away. He's not going to make an insane play that no one else can make, but he put the Giants in a position to win the football game, and that's all they asked for. So from that aspect, no, they're not going to start Tyrod over Daniel Jones. But I mean, so I would say solely contractually. I mean, you can't have that on the bench. But man, it looked like a different team. I know Saquon was out there, and even a 70% Saquon adds so much more to your offense. But it really did look like a completely different team with Tyrod out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, talking about Saquon Barkley, I mean, the guy's ankle's still bothering him. But take the rock 28 times, by the way, grinded. And he did have some huge runs in that second half to kind of really try to punch back at the Bills. And look, what stinks for so many reasons, that Giants defense played tremendously. You held Josh Allen 169 yards. And actually, Stephon Diggs caught 100 10 balls for 100 yards, I believe. Yeah, 10 for 100.
Mhm.
So that means 69 other yards. Yeah, I know. Wait for you to say something, Brad. But 69 other yards went to the other receivers or tight ends, running backs, whatever it is. Right? Yeah, there you go. So they did an awesome job, and there was a mismanagement. Now, Alan did bring up there was some finger pointing. There was a lot of tension, and you could see it at halftime. And there's a lot of analysts that were out there talking about, well, it shouldn't have happened. And Dan Orlovsky, which he does always, made a good point, and it makes sense if you're watching it. They had a second play. It looked like it was their check play. So Tyrod Taylor checked the play, but in that circumstance, you got to understand that if he doesn't score there, you got no other shot. Because worst case, if you throw it, you probably have 2, maybe 3 chances at the end zone right then and there. And how about this? The first half ends with the Giants at the 1 yard line, and the second half and the end of the game ends with the Giants at the 1 yard line. 0 points. 0 points. And I'm with you. If you call the one Darren Waller pass interference, you got to call the other. But to the point that should not have been the reason. It shouldn't even come to that point. The Giants should have walked out with a victory, and now they're sitting at 1-5. That was a chance for them to save their season, in my opinion. And now I don't know if they're going to have enough to get it through, get into the next point. And also just want to make a point here. We got we're at this point. We don't do a good job of this during the show, but what, Zach?
I'm just looking at the
You're
question.
just looking,
Yeah.
you're looking at yourself.
Just excited. Yeah.
You're looking at yourself. But hey, if you're new to this channel, by the way, if you could subscribe to the channel, ask some questions. We're about to dive in on the next topic with the Ravens. So please feel free. We will in a minute. What's up?
I had the footage from the second DPI. If you wanted to,
I would love to. I just was trying to I thought it was a good moment just to say, hey,
yeah,
we're here. We're having a good time, because we never really do that. I mean, you see this stash, everyone, by the way, it's not
Look
mine.
at this.
I can't pull that off.
I can't pull that off either. Not a
But
chance.
you know what? I actually,
People argue I can't either. So
well, no, that looks good. I'm trying to keep this, and then woof. And then the other part of it is, I had what did you say?
I said good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, you know what? That's my favorite thing of saying, are you related to the Ripkens? I'm like, yeah. So and they like, oh, you had great genes. I'm like, which genes are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about the one with the hair, I'm sorry, sir. You are mistaken. That's a load of shit. But anyway, they say bald's good, but these caterpillars are what are going to do me in. We're off topic here. Play the pass interference so we can stop talking about my hairline.
Yeah, so just to set it up here, this was the second pass interference that was not called. So before this play, there was pass interference that took them to the 1 yard line, meaning the Giants make a throw. I don't disagree with this play. I thought it was actually a great play. If it was executed well. You just had a pass interference that prevented Darren Waller from catching this ball. You guys be the judge on this one. What do you think?
Taylor over the top to Waller. Can't bring it in. Taron Johnson.
All right.
Play.
Well, let me mute it real quick so you guys can just focus on that play in general. So there's clear jersey tugging right there.
yeah,
That is DPI every single time. Anytime you see a jersey getting pulled like that, it's pass interference. I'm sorry. It just is. I mean, that's my opinion. What do you guys think about that real quick?
Yeah, well, first off, in real time, it always looks like, it was a clean play. And you slow it down and you see the jersey literally being pulled.
There was a referee right there at the end. Right at the goalpost.
And I think that's where we go to, right? That's what we're talking about.
I think what I was most upset about is because I think it is DPI. It was a perfect ball by Tyrod. He put it up where only Darren Waller could go up and get it. And the only reason he couldn't go get it is because he was being held. I mean, and that's what I think sucks about it is Tyrod put an incredible ball on Darren Waller that should have resulted
only his guy could
game
catch
winner.
It.
Yeah.
Yep. And you have that line judge sitting right there at the goalpost. So it's he saw it. How do you not see that? There's no way.
I think it comes down to, unfortunately, in the NFL, they do not want to have a second untimed down for the win. I think
I do it if it's the right call.
Yeah.
If the suspense builds, give me all the untimed downs in the world, Zach.
I would love it, but I think the NFL and referees are like, as soon as they threw the one pass interference, it is very hard. I think you have to be even more blatant than that, because I think that was almost worse than the first one.
Yeah.
I think referees have a very hard time throwing it back-to-back plays, which shouldn't be an issue.
Why do you think that, Zach?
I just think it's one of those things where once they've thrown it the first time, it's okay, we're giving them a chance on the 1 yard line for the win. This is it. And then in your head, they're like, okay, are we letting them play? Is this getting more physical? Tensions are high. And I think they're more trying to not be part of the story of, oh, there were 2 straight pass interference calls in the end zone, where now they're part of the story they missed the second pass interference in the end zone. So really just a tough position for the ref to be in. I would like him to just throw the flag and let's play football again and have it be clean. But I think the NFL doesn't like their refs throwing those flags multiple at a time in those big moments.
I get that. But my thing is, though, it's like, if they didn't want the referees to be the story today, they failed at that by not throwing, because we're still talking about them, right? If we were talking about them throwing a second DPI in a row and we went back and watched, that jersey tug, and it was pretty obvious. And as you said, the second one was almost worse than the first. For me, it's like, well, if you didn't want them to be the story, now that they are, now they are the story, because of the no call, not because they didn't throw the flag twice on defensive pass interference.
Yeah, and I think it's also another thing where I think the ref would rather be wrong not throwing it. And okay, it was just 2 guys. It was a bang, bang play. I didn't throw it. Then he throws it, and then we go back and go, that was just an incredible defensive play. You ruined the game. So I think there's a lot of that element in it, as well as they would rather miss the call than give the team another chance that they don't deserve.
I think I'll just say this. I don't envy being a referee, because you are never going to be like, hey, great job. Amazing work. I mean, sometimes they'll say that, like, hey, great call by the official, but you might hear that once a game.
Yeah, usually just when they like see that a guy didn't step out, and you're like, wow, how did they see that? It's never in a big
it's great job by the officials there. Unbelievable work. And that's the one time you hear it. Everyone's like, I don't know why they would do that. It's a rough position in any sport. I will say at MLB, for the umpires, it's so much more magnified now that they have the K zone, and now every pitch you can watch and be like, you messed up, you suck. And it's like, well, let me say that as a hitter. Like, I will let you know that you messed up. And I said that a lot. Technology didn't help us. I remember we'd have the TrackMan, and you go in the dugout and look at it, and all of a sudden you get back out, or you'd yell from there, be like, it's been a ball for 100-some years. And you might call him a few names. Maybe you stay in the game.
Yeah. Attaboy.
Yeah. Also, now that it's final, Rangers, Joe, the Rangers win 5-4. The boys are hot. The Rangers are caliente. That's hot in Spanish, by the way. They are scorching. They're up 2-0 going to Texas. Vibes have to be high. Rangers have never won a World Series. Talk about them being on.
Insane. I mean, I will say, we said it earlier, this does make me feel a little bit better as an Oriole fan, where it's like, okay, it's not us. Like, because
just wasn't every year. It's the Rangers year. That's all there is to it.
Exactly. So now I can kind of, as long as if they can just win in 3 or 4 or 5 games against the Astros, I'll just chalk it up to, we ran into a freight train.
Yeah. Or, they just win out, and then you go, well, we lost to the best team. The best team in the American League lost to the best team in all baseball. That's what fans want to hear. All right, we got sidetracked a little bit on that, but we did. There was a lot of great games, but the one that a lot of people probably are wanting to talk about right now is the Ravens. They go to London early. It pays off, especially in the first half. Got a little dicey in the second half, but hey,
we love to do it.
But Baltimore is flying out of London, 4-2, big victory. first victory overseas. And yeah, I mean, I think for Ravens fans, that is a win that overall you feel good with. Now, there were some plays that we want to dive into. One of them being, which was a big moment as the Ravens were trying to hold on, obviously, in the second half. Kyle Hamilton, one of their best players, gets tossed for what's deemed as an illegal hit, helmet to helmet. Tough moment. Do we have that video, Brad?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. Yep.
Perfect. So you guys can take a look at this for what we're referring to here. Kyle Hamilton head to head or helmet to helmet contact with, I believe it was Chris Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And here it is. So Cole Jackson was able to pull this up to show this end zone angle, which shout out Cole. This is great context in full speed of what that means. And you could see, to me personally, I don't know about you, Zach, that doesn't look like a malicious hit.
No. And it's one of those things. And it's why I keep saying about this. If you want to say that's 15 yards, okay. He did hit him helmet to helmet.
By the book.
No problem.
Yes.
I have no problem with that at all.
It is 15 yards. I completely agree. He went in helmet to helmet, 15 yards. The ejection makes no sense to me. I just don't understand how you can look at that and think, because I know they had refs looking at it in slow-mo out in New York. I don't know how you can look at that and go, oh, yeah, there was malicious with intent, especially with Kyle Hamilton's track record. It's not like this is a guy who every week we see him laying guys out and delivering dirty hits. This is honestly probably the biggest hit I've ever seen Kyle Hamilton lay on somebody. Yeah. And guy is coming down. He's going to try to break up a pass at the 3-yard line. It's not like this was a 2-yard screen pass.
No,
this is a deep ball that he's trying to break up a touchdown. So if you want to give him 15 yards, perfectly fine. He did the penalty, but to get ejected I think it caught everyone off guard.
Well, and for me, like if we go back to this view right here, you can see Kyle Hamilton's actually reaching for the football. So you can literally tell that he's making an attempt to dislodge the ball from the receiver. And it just so happened that, their helmets were coming in at the same time. I don't really see how Kyle Hamilton was leading with his helmet. It wasn't like he was turning himself into a human spear and targeting this guy. It was just, a bang bang play. And we actually saw other plays in this game where there was helmet to helmet contact on Lamar Jackson, and that wasn't called. So I really don't get the ejection at all. And Kyle Hamilton was, talking about how that was bullshit. I agree. I think it was without a doubt bullshit that he got ejected from that game. But totally agree. Hey, there's zero tolerance for helmet to helmet. Yeah. Throw the flag, fine. But to kick him out, it made no sense, especially that early in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that again. So it was a moment there for Ravens where you lose one of your best players. Now the Ravens got off to a hot start. You could say that they struggled to put away drives. The defense was great, and you had a substantial lead. I believe it was 15 at the half, if I do the math correctly.
Yeah, fifth. Yeah,
I thought I had it, but it's like when you second guess yourself at least 8 or 9 or 12 times in a row. That's where I'm at. But for the Ravens, it got close, especially in that second half where the Titans outscored the Ravens 10-0, and now it's a ball game. Now, the Ravens did close it out and win 24-16. Ryan Tannehill goes down. But I guess for a little barometer for you guys, what's it feel like for the Ravens that they are found a way to win, but there is something about that some of these close games are making you a little nervous?
Yeah. So for me, I thought that this was a staggering stat that CBS had put up. And that was, the NFL
Network. Yeah.
And that was that I knew that this was a problem. I guess I just didn't know that it was this much of a problem. So, 5 losses with double-digit leads since the start of 2022. That's tied for the most in the NFL. 8 losses with a 7+ point lead in the fourth quarter since 2021. Most in the NFL, and 10 losses when leading entering in the fourth quarter since 2021. That is the most in the NFL. If you guys can recall last year, the huge struggles that the Ravens were having closing out games. I mean, the one that stands out the most to me is that Miami Dolphins game last year where they were up by 21 points in the fourth quarter and blow it. And we saw it with the Bills last year as well. There's a lot of scrutiny that gets put on the offense. And, look, Greg Roman last year and the year before, questionable calls, no doubt about it. But there was really little scrutiny on the defense, and it's one thing to be leading in the all these categories as far as the defense is concerned, and it's great. Roquan Smith is playing out of his mind, but what is it about this defense that just can't keep the other team from scoring late in the game? I just don't understand that, and would love to yield to you guys on your thoughts on those numbers and the defense in late in games.
Would you like to start?
Yeah, I think I can't give you an answer on it because it is mind-boggling. Because, like you said, the Ravens are so good in so many statistical categories, and then it's like the fourth quarter happens, and it's a whole different ball club. And so it's so weird. I don't know if it's, the type of scheme we're running in the fourth quarter, doing that prevent defense, which is the dumbest thing in the world. But it's just one of those things where it's weird. And we were actually talking about this a little bit before. I wonder how much mental it is, where it's like the other team starts creeping up and you start having those, oh God, because as a fan, I can tell you I have it every week that we have a big lead and then it's the fourth quarter and it's like, oh God, why does 17 points suddenly 8? And it's like, we're not going to do this, right? And I'm not going to be upset at the win because beating Tennessee in London was never a guarantee, but still definitely feeling a little weird about the late game defense.
Especially because I'm sorry, Ryan, but especially because the schedule doesn't get easier from here. And I'll let you take it away.
No. Oh no, not at all. I mean, I think that's a big thing. The schedule does not get easier. And again, people will complain and look at, well, the Ravens should be 6-0, but you're going to stumble in games, right? It's natural. And we're seeing it across the NFL with the Ravens. To the point bringing it up, it just has felt like, if you look at them, if you could put them up against any team, and there isn't a team in the NFL that I don't think the Ravens can go and beat, right? I think that's where people and fans look at, of going talent-wise, offensively, defensively, toe-to-toe, is there a team that the Ravens can't go out and win against? And I don't have a team, even as good as San Francisco. I think the Ravens can match up well with San Fran.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The problem is the conversation, I should say, is can you execute down the stretch to put games away? And in this case, even though it's very hard to win in Pittsburgh, you had a 10-0 lead in Pittsburgh and you didn't score again from the second quarter on. And you lose that game 17-10. Now we know that it's a team sport, but again, that's a tough loss. We talk about last year's games where the Ravens, those were big moments, but you found a way to not close the game out. And as much as Kansas City is not playing their best game offensively, I feel like people just always think, and isn't that what you want from your team, is that no matter what happens, it's close. Oh, Kansas City's still going to find a way to win this game. And then even against that Lions game, that's the only game that they lost. It's a very good team. Kansas City could be 6-0 and still playing ugly football. Yeah. And I think that's what, for the Ravens, continuing to figure out how to win ugly games. So that's a positive for the team. I'll take it. And I think there was actually one question up here about that, which was, would you have taken the point so much as Harbaugh? I wouldn't have taken the points in the last field goal. Had you gained a yard, you could have taken more time to get off the field or get the field goal at least. Look, I'm happy actually they took the points there. I thought that was a game where sometimes, we talked about this, Brad, where teams get a little bit too cute at times. And the Chargers are one of those teams where you try to play the analytics, but because the Ravens kept taking the points, you continued to put pressure back on the other team. And ultimately that added up to a Ravens victory. And in that case, you still have the best kicker in the world. You feel automatic. And that's in the past, Brad, come back to bit the Ravens, or bite. Bite is the correct word.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say to that. I think that there was the one play where Ravens were, 2 yards from the end zone. And they decided to kick it then. And it was like very early on. If it's early in the game, I think that it's more than acceptable to try to go after the tud, because I mean you're pinning the Titans back, on the 2-yard line, and so the chances you're getting the ball back with good field position are pretty high, especially the way that we saw Tannehill playing, and D-Hop was just getting shut down. So and the way that the Ravens play the first half of ball games, I would have said that I wouldn't have been upset. Even if they didn't get into the end zone, I wouldn't have been upset about that call, because I think that was the appropriate one early in the game. But yeah, taking the points everywhere else made total sense to me. That would just have been the one time that I've been like, you know what, Lamar Jackson has been, running into the end zone with types of plays, and pretty easily, I might add. So I think that a design run play going into the end zone at the 2-yard line would have made a bunch of sense at the beginning of the game, of course.
Yeah, I also wonder, that last field goal that the Ravens took on the goal line could pin Tennessee. I wonder how much Tannehill being out and Malik Willis being the quarterback for the Titans impacted that.
Oh, for sure.
Because suddenly it's, okay, if it's Tannehill, he has experience in this. But is Malik Willis, if you kick it, it's a 2-possession game, field goal and a 2-point conversion. Now that's 3 things that Malik Willis has to pull off perfectly. So I think it had a lot to do with also the fact that the Ravens were like, okay, if Malik Willis wants to go down the field twice, not even counting that they have to onside it or get the Ravens to 3 and out really quickly. I just think they were like, I don't think Malik Willis can go down and win that game with the ball in his hands twice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, though. I'm a big believer in taking the points. If it's going to make it from a 1-score to 2-score game, sign me up. I will take it any day. I don't care if it's 4th and inches and it's even 1 inch. If it can give us a 2-score lead, we've seen in the moments, Lamar is so electrifying with his legs. The one thing that the Ravens are not great at is quarterback sneaking. And also, for everyone that complains about the tush push with the Eagles, not other teams are great at that either, by the way. Like, it's a skill. If you don't like it, play better. So I will always take the points personally. That's just how I am as far as in that situation. And I shouldn't say, let me retrack. In that moment, I'm all for making it a 2-possession game, because that everything then has to go completely right for the other team to lose. The percentages go extremely in your favor. And for the Ravens, they built it up then by taking the points, that they found themselves in a position then to be up 2 scores when it mattered most.
Yeah.
Cool, Brad? Yeah. I think I wanted to answer one other question here earlier, because it's when we talk about Saquon. And this would be a dream, but should the Ravens go get Saquon Barkley? Well,
100%.
I mean, could you guys imagine that team with Saquon? But the problem is the contract on a 1-year deal, and then more than likely you'd have to actually pay him to a second contract. But can you imagine read options and Saquon out of the backfield? I know it's a dream that I love to think about here.
Yeah, it's like one of those, should the Ravens go get Saquon? Probably not, for what it would cost you and then what you'd have to pay him. Would it be really cool if the Ravens went and got Saquon? Without a doubt.
Brad, would you be on board with that?
I would be on board with that, but there was something interesting that I thought that the Bleacher Report put out, and it was regarding not Saquon Barkley, but King Henry himself.
Oh my goodness.
So, obviously Titans just got done playing the Ravens. And so Bleacher Report actually put this out. I thought this was very interesting and intriguing. Saquon would be great. Would you rather have Derrick Henry on the Ravens? Well,
but still, that's a big contract. How much of that contract do they have to eat? Because that's a big proponent of it. Now, talking about a physical specimen, hand the ball off to him. I'm all about it. Oh, and we can get the newsletter for Bleacher Report too.
It's incredible.
So much information.
Yeah, you can do so much on this website.
No, but I get your point. I think Derrick Henry, of the two, if you're looking for the bruiser, it's Henry. And even when you think he's breaking down against the Ravens, he still finds a way to run for about 100.
He's so
you know
scary.
what? Look, I love Saquon Barkley. I would take either one of these running backs on the Ravens, but if I had to label one of those guys a Raven, I mean, Derrick Henry just plays Raven football. He really does. Just downhill, smash mouth, I'm going to take your lunch type of ball player, even at 29 years old. He's still an absolute force, and we saw how he ran over the Ravens yesterday. Guy hasn't missed a beat.
Yeah, not at all.
That hurt me in fantasy too. That hurt. It was a double whammy.
Yeah, that's always what hurts the most.
Yeah, the double whammy hurts here. But hey, one could dream, and could the Titans say, you know what, we don't like the Ravens that much. There are quote unquote rival without being the close rivals. People remember it was the Ravens Titans here when the Ravens just came to Baltimore in that early 2000s and whatnot. Time will tell. That'd be great. But hey, I will say this:
the trade deadline, by the way, is October 31st. So, gonna see some moves moving around.
And DeCosta has been known for making moves that he likes to try to go make moves at the deadline and try to re-sign guys there. That seems to be the play for him.
Yeah,
I like that. So I'm sure the Ravens will be thinking of options as always at the deadline. I think that covers the game coverage. And again, if you're just tuning in, please like and subscribe. If you like what Zach here is doing with his mustache, there it is. Perfect. Brad's got the beard. I got neither. So you got to just look and deal with smiles.
We got all the phases going on.
Get the beard in the hair.
Yeah. Congrats, guys.
Yeah, Brad won that one.
Yeah, he did win that one. I was watching Couples Retreat last night.
Oh.
And I love the fact that they say we don't accept tips, we accept smiles. And then it's just but then he's playing him in Guitar Hero. And he goes, "What's wrong, Stanley? Would you rather play for money or shall we play for smiles?" And that's what does it for people. Yeah, I know. That's what went through my mind. Okay. I was trying to relax and wind down after I mismanaged my fantasy football team. But anyway, a couple things. What else was nuts this weekend, everyone? What was really getting you going here, Brad, for this weekend doesn't have to necessarily be NFL, but it definitely could be.
Well, it is NFL, and it's Tyreek Hill doing a backflip. I mean, did you guys see this? You guys saw this, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we saw it.
I mean, the guy is got 814 yards through week 6.
It's insane.
Absolutely wild.
Yeah,
right. Just do better, bro. Do better. But so here's the actual first person view of this. Let me see if I can get it up. Whoa, pause. No, that's not what I was trying to do.
Sure it was not.
Hold on.
I just want to know if this was planned. Like, it had to be planned, right?
You would think. So
I think I do think this is.
So he scores a touchdown, comes up to a fan who's got their phone recording the video. He takes it, backflips with it in his hand.
It had to be planned. It had to be.
Obviously the NFL has already fined him. God knows, I don't know, $13,000-$14,000, whatever it is. But like, that is hilarious, and it's definitely so Tyreek Hill. I don't understand fining guys for that, just because that kind of shit's good for football.
Yeah, I will say I'm pretty sure it's actually his. I think that's his media guy. I saw some over social media. He hired a videographer, and I kind of have a feeling that that's him.
It has to be.
Like, exactly where to go. Here's the phone, take it, and then
he was already recording.
Yeah. There's way more to that, but that was fun. That was nuts. And Tyreek Hill is trying to be the first receiver to get to 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
And right now he's got to be on pace for it. He's got to be really close. Through 6 games at 814. That's a 17-game regular season.
Yeah. I'm not a math guy, but that seems to work out.
Does that check out?
Yeah, something like that.
All right. Well, hey, Zach, what else had you? What was nuts for you this weekend?
Let's talk a little bit about blocks. How about running backs throwing incredible blocks?
Ooh.
Craig Reynolds on this Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown with honestly one of the blocks of the year. I mean, see you later. This is the energy I love.
Well, and the fact that Amon-Ra started that play all the way on the other side of the field, runs back across, and Reynolds just isn't giving up on the play. This is the Fighting Dan Campbell's in Detroit. It's a thing. And look at that energy. Craig Reynolds, I think they reported this on CBS, by the way. Was it on CBS? I think the game was. Anyway, regardless.
The station.
Fox.
It was Fox?
Yeah.
Okay.
Close enough.
On Fox, that they were saying if you are active for the game, you have a role. Yeah. And we expect you when you're out there to go and make a play. And Montgomery goes down, so Craig Reynolds is in the game a lot more. And man, the dude just was
cooking pancakes. Pancakes.
Yes, he was.
He wasn't even in the screen when the video started and the man got a pancake.
Cooking pancakes.
Yeah, just cooking pancakes out there. IHOP. Serving at IHOP part-time.
Yeah, hey, he was. He was serving up. Hey, we got two more things, and we'll close with one that's outside of the NFL then. But how about Adam Butler, former New England Patriot? The Raiders just played the Patriots. Raiders won. Patriots are still struggling quite a bit. But it wasn't what happened on the field that we're talking about here. It's after the game. Adam Butler was talking to a reporter, and I believe, just so I give the proper credit, it's to Logan Reaver here of CBS.
Expecting me to say anything after the game. It did make me very upset that, Bill didn't even have the respect for me to say anything after the game. Not even congratulate me. You can, tell me, you look good or you don't look good, whatever. Kiss my ass, something. But he didn't say anything. So kind of felt, disrespected. Made me feel kind of, made me feel bad. And I know Coach Belichick has bigger things to worry about, obviously. They're going through a tough time, but I mean, say a wave, like something, but nothing.
Not even a fuck you.
I think he was the only one who was surprised by that, if I'm being honest. I mean, Bill Belichick just fell to 1-5. I don't think he was going to go talk to you. I mean, I think it was obviously he has a better relationship with Bill, but when I saw that at first, I was like, what did you expect?
Well, aren't they now? Isn't the first time the Patriots, I think, are 1-5 since 1995?
Yeah,
something like that. And I saw some people saying they've waited for the Patriots dynasty to now fall once again, and people are celebrating with some funny memes or whatnot. But it's not smooth sailing out there,
not at all
in New England. But Adam Butler, hey, I love that he's just candid talking about it, Brad.
I know,
I love it.
Yeah, and Mac Jones sucks, by the way. He's just not that dude.
I just still can't believe the other part of it. Jacoby Myers was paid by the Raiders, and they signed Juju Smith. And hey, that's no knock to Juju. He does a lot of the tough work. He helped the Chiefs last year in his role, but Jacoby Myers is balling out right now for the Raiders. Yeah. And essentially you gave the same money for Juju compared to what Jacoby's doing, a guy that had success in New England already. Just feel bad. Yeah. I feel bad for the whole situation right now. It's definitely not going well. Maybe we'll have some more takes on that on Thursday. Yeah. One other note with the NFL, Brad, you got a comment?
I was just gonna close that up, wrap that up by saying, like, you gotta wonder if Jacoby Myers is going off like that with the Raiders in a subpar quarterback room, by the way. How much of it actually is Mac Jones? And yeah, we will have that conversation later on in the week, but god damn, does that guy suck.
You know what? I hope
rough.
I want to see guys do well. It's a hard job. But having said that, you got to perform, or people are going to we're going to have conversations, and the drum's only going to beat louder. Yep. But how about for another guy that's been around the block for a while, and then we'll go to my favorite segment. But I think you, Zach, were talking about him in fantasy.
Yeah. Insane. Adam Thielen might be a top 5 receiver in the NFL right now. And it's so funny because during the offseason, so many Ravens fans were like, it's got to be D-Hop or OBJ. If it's Adam Thielen, the offseason was a failure. I would kill to have Adam Thielen's production right now on the Ravens. I mean, hasn't missed a beat.
It's nuts, by the way. And for those that are wondering, because I just went against him in fantasy, it's fun. But he has 3 100-yard receiving games. He has 3 games with 11 catches. And the other 2 games are 7 for 76. Sorry, other 3 games. 7 for 76, 7 for 54. His worst game was the first game of the season against the Atlanta Falcons, where he went 2 for 12. He has 509 receiving yards on the season and 4 touchdowns.
All right. This is me adding throwing cold water on the whole thing. Who else is there to throw to on that Panther squad?
That is why I took him in fantasy.
Well, DJ Chark is supposed to be a guy that they have there. But to your point, you're right, that it is the guy.
Yeah. Well, they have Hayden Hurst, don't they? Didn't they bring him in?
They have Hayden Hurst. You know what I always
not a wide receiver, though.
They drafted Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah.
So I get it. I understand what you're saying, but you know what? I was just realizing this was a saying I had for all my friends like the last few years with Thielen. There was 3 things that you could count on in life: death, taxes, and Adam Thielen scores a touchdown
every day.
And it feels like it's coming back.
We'll say this. Look, Panthers are winless still, and we didn't touch on that today, but Chuba Hubbard looks like that dude too. I ended up picking him up on fantasy this week, and he actually showed up. He ran 50 yards in that first quarter.
Yeah.
So he's looking like a dude too. Listen, Panthers fans, if you're out there, if there's any of them that exist, I've never seen one, but if you are a Panthers fan, you got to be encouraged at least a little bit that there are flashes of greatness and that somehow they're going to put this together and come up with a dub.
It's tough right now. We talk about winning solves everything. Losing also creates every problem you can imagine.
Yes.
And right now there's a lot of losing. But let's end this show then with probably my favorite moment of the weekend.
Incredible.
And this is outside of the NFL, but it's going back to college football and College Game Day on ESPN. Desmond Howard was bringing some serious energy talking about the Washington quarterback for the Huskies.
Tremendous amount of trust from Michael, what he's been doing on the field. He's built relationships with the players. I tell you what, he's dealt with a lot of adversity to get here. He's grateful to be Washington's quarterback, and they know that every time he takes the field, he's going to bring that big Phoenix energy. He's going to bring that big Phoenix energy. He's going to bring that big Phoenix energy. Yeah. That's right, Harry. Let's go, baby.
I feel like that last one was penis, actually.
Yeah. So here's the thing, by the way. His name is Michael, I think it's pronounced Penix Jr.
Penix Jr. Yeah.
Michael Penix Jr. So he was trying to say he had big Penix energy. That did not sound like...
That was not Penix.
It was not Penix.
It was, no. I love the segment, and College Game Day has been electric this year for stuff like this, but definitely not something we've seen on College Game Day in years prior.
Hey, I'm all for that energy, though. He was enjoying it. I think even McAfee was saying, like, I've been pronouncing it wrong for years. But hey, like, that's what you live for, right? You live for those moments. Like, this is what makes it fun. But that to me was just
Penix Jr. is also going to be an NFL quarterback, so we're going to be hearing that name for a long time.
And he could be the Heisman Trophy winner this year, especially
with had his Heisman moment potentially against Oregon.
What a game, by the way! Yeah.
Oh
we haven't touched enough on the
big Penix energy.
Yeah, but apparently Rick's got some big Zach energy here. Hey, now wait, stop traffic. Whoo! There it is. There it is.
What kind of smile? He's like got that. I don't know. That smiles kind of make me feel uncomfortable.
I know I'm trying to make eye contact with the camera throughout.
I think I've shown you guys. I put it on Instagram. It's me taking a selfie in the mirror with my hair all the way up and the mustache. Yeah. That was the best chance you had of me at a mustache. I did grow out a goatee, but I got to try to get on your level, Zach, of
I know
that.
Can you not put facial hair like that, Ryan?
Not like that. I mean, look at this.
Yeah, it's a little.
But I also, when I would go on to do TV work, it was better to be clean shaven, shaved. Yeah. And then like last night, me and Rocco did a segment for Fox 45, kind of recapping the season. So I try to look good, and I don't know. I got a good stubble. People think I'm older than I am already, so I don't know. I just haven't gotten to that point of like the beard's a good look for me yet.
Yeah,
I feel like the stubble works for you though.
Yeah, the stubble could work. Hey, that might be a look in this offseason.
Yeah.
It really
the
might
playoff
be.
Stubble.
Playoff stubble. You got the full beard.
Yeah.
Brad.
Yep.
We got the mustache.
Zach's got the 70s porn stash.
We're completing the whole look right now.
We are.
we got a lot of good things. It's you know what you remind me of real quickly? It's like when you're at a sporting event. And the kids having a staring contest.
Oh,
and it pans away. So here it is to me. It's me right now, and then it goes back, and you're just staring right at it.
Those are the best ones.
That's what I feel like you are.
Yeah, I know exactly what video you're talking about.
But usually though, it's for like a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah, I was gonna say usually they don't have a porn stash.
Yeah, not an adult right here.
Usually they're not having those guys staring into the camera.
Lady, you're scaring us.
Yeah.
Love that from Billy Madison. Well, hey, I think that kind of wraps it up. What do you think, Brad? I think we're good to go.
Yeah, this is a great show. Zach, it was awesome having you in studio. Certainly appreciate you making the trip, bro. Hopefully it'll be the first of many.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Awesome studio. Love it.
Yeah, man. Can't wait to have us all in one spot too. It's going to be a tons of fun. Guys, we're going to do this again all over on Thursday. We're going to recap, or we're going to cover picks for week 7. Can you believe it? We're going to cover all those picks for you for the NFL, and then go and discuss whatever the heck else is going on in the world of sports. If you guys want to tune in, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, that notification bell to get notified anytime we put up a video. Hit that like button, of course. And as always, guys, have a safe night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll see you Thursday.
See you Thursday, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.